The gray squirrel is one of the most sought-after game species in America. Almost every youth learns the art of hunting and stalking while chasing the bushy tail. Most states offer a liberal season of some 5 to 6 months, while others hunt him from May to February. The gray squirrel lives mainly in hollow trees and produces a litter of 3 to 4 young several times a year. His diet is so diversified, it would be easier to list what he will not eat. The food he favors the most is nuts, from hickory to pecan. But black gum berries and wild cherries are a good second choice, depending upon availability. Most squirrel hunting begins in August and kicks off the beginning of the annual hunting seasons. The gray squirrel is known for his barking and whining that often tells on a stranger entering his woods. The barking gives away his location and is usually accompanied by a twitching of his tail. By late summer, hickory cuttings will indicate the availability of bushy tails. Running from tree to tree offers the squirrel easy access to his food source without being molested by ground predators. At times, squirrels will travel by ground to reach nuts and grains on the forest floor. He continually buries them in different places, so he'll be assured of a good food supply for the hard months to come. Most woods are regenerated by squirrels burying acorns and nuts for later use, then forgetting their whereabouts. Hunting has very little effect on squirrel populations, since their numbers are controlled by food and weather. From early fall to late winter, the amount of foliage in squirrel country will vary considerably. In winter, a squirrel dog offers great assistance in finding the squirrel. A man and his dog can become an effective team and make a day of squirrel hunting one that won't soon be forgotten. This almost lost tradition of squirrels, man, and dog brings David and Harold to Tennessee, using their squirrel call to perform their own squirrel magic.
Harold, this is my first treat to ever get to go squirrel hunting, even though I've squirrel hunted all my life. But this is the first time with a dog. Now, we've been out this morning squirrel hunting. What did you think about it?
Well, it brought back some old memories for me. I used to squirrel hunt all the time with a dog, and I'll have to say I still enjoy it. And, we fortunate enough to be out with a good dog today, and anytime you see a good dog do his thing out there in squirrel wood, and you take a .22 rifle, and Dave, you can see these squirrels this time of year, and the leaves are off, it's just a lot of fun.
Well, we invited Rex Wallace, or he invited us, maybe I should say, to come down to Tennessee and do a little squirrel hunting. Rex, how long you had this little dog?
About 2.5 years is how old she is. She's been hunting, and she's been training squirrels for at least 2 years.
Training squirrels for 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the things I noticed out there today, when that little dog took off out through the woods, she was smelling the whole time, and she had a different bark than she did when she got to the tree.
That's right.
Now, is that natural, or is that something?
It's natural. When they get to the tree, it's a completely different bark. You can, when they running, it's a track run. It's a different run. When they get to a tree, well, she'll change her mouth completely.
You know, I noticed too, David, that she didn't bark on the trail every time, but sometimes it seemed like when she got real hot on a squirrel, she'd bark on that trail. She got real excited.
Right.
Well, what interested me, she'd sit there and smell the tree, and it just reminded me a lot of coon dogs. You know, they're going to scent that tree to see if that squirrel had been up it. Now, I know that dog runs on smell, but I'm sure she runs on sight too, doesn't she?
Yes, sir. And when it's dry, she does all her hunting mostly by eyesight.
And she'll hear.
And she'll go by ear. And when it's moisture like this, mostly she'll run by smell.
What is any particular kind of day you rather hunt? You like a bright day or a cloudy day? Or?
Yes, sir. I'd rather have a good, small, damp day that's plenty of moisture in the air that they do better.
They
When
smell
it's
better.
warm, too.
Right.
The squirrels seem to get out in the wintertime when it's sort of a moderating weather versus like it's going to snow or sleet or something like that.
Right.
They sort of like us humans. They like to get out there and be comfortable, too, don't they?
Right.
Well, this time of year, of course, naturally the leaves off and you can see a lot further in the woods, and I don't see many squirrels playing up in the trees. It seems like most of them are on the ground searching for leftover acorns or hickory-nuts or whatever. This late in the year, what do these squirrels mainly feed on?
Well, they still feel their own acornuts is under leaves. They'll scratch for a few, then they'll put some up. Squirrels will put a few acornuts up, and hickory-nuts too.
You know, one of the things that I thought was interesting in this hunt this morning, it was just about every time that dog treed and barked, you knew in your own mind there was a squirrel there. Now, we didn't find them all the time, and one of the things that was interesting about the woods we were in was a lot of hollow trees and a lot of den trees. And if a man wants squirrels, he's got to save his den trees. And I know you being a logger, it hurts to cut down a den tree, don't it?
Yes, it does. It does away with their nesting on their babies and stuff. You know, it ain't got no place for them to raise and stuff.
Well, as a logger, do you try to go by and pass up? I mean, does anybody ever tell you cut the den trees down?
Yes, sir, they do. Some people tell you that farmers own their land, they'll tell you cut the den trees down. But I don't like to do it. And if I got my choice, I don't fool with them. I just go around.
Well, I know that if we're going to have lots of squirrels, and this is a great sport, there's no better sport in the world for teaching a person how to hunt, how to shoot a rifle, how to listen. And we were shooting rifles this morning. Now, I want to ask you a question here. Of course, I was running the camera back there and trying to keep up with you and Harold the dog. Was y'all trying to head shoot those squirrels or what?
Well, Harold might. I ain't as good a shot as he is. I try to shoot him behind my shoulder myself.
Well, getting back to this dog a little bit, when she jumps up on a tree and goes to barking like she does and looking around, is she not sure exactly where that squirrel is?
No, sir. She's oversighting. When you hear when she kind of growls, she's wanting that squirrel to fall out.
You want him to fall out?
She's wanting him to come out of there.
I know when y'all shot those squirrels, that dog was fast on them.
Yeah, she'll just go to prancing like that. She's wanting you to shoot that squirrel out. She's excited.
Rex, you know, I can remember back in my younger days, everybody had a squirrel dog. In your area in Tennessee, the hills of Tennessee, you know, you can remember probably when all your neighbors had a squirrel dog. Now then, you don't see near as many of them. The sport is not near as popular as it used to be. I think it's a great sport. Why don't more people, I wonder, own squirrel dogs and take up the sport of squirrel hunting?
Well, it's a coming back in up our way. People's hunting a lot on horses now, and they really enjoy hunting with the horses, and that's where they're coming back up our home. They're hunting off the horses.
I think more people went to deer hunting years ago, and
we didn't have the deer.
We didn't have the deer then. They had to hunt something. Squirrel was a big thing, and it's obvious now that squirrel hunting is a coming back sport, and I welcome it because it's a great sport to start a kid out on. And I'm not a kid anymore, but I'm going to tell you what, I was excited watching that dog work this morning.
Listen, David, I heard Rex bark like a squirrel today. He and I were out there, and you might not have heard him. I want him to show us his squirrel call, and then I'm going to show him ours.
Well, now, wait just a minute, Rex. Let me ask you something. Do you actually call the squirrels with your mouth times to get them running around a tree or anything like that?
Well, no, I don't, because I usually have somebody to help me kind of turn the squirrel where I'm at. Or I'm kind of lazy, but I cut up these squirrels. I'm not really no squirrel caller, but I make a noise sometimes.
Well, let me hear what you do to make one bark. Well, I'm going to tell you what, Harold. Now, he may not be using it, but that's an effective sound. And I know we've come out with a squirrel call because I can't do that, and I ain't even going to pretend to do it. But we can do it with a little squirrel call.
This is the kind of squirrel call I have to have, Rick, and it's just a little typical. We call it a 4-in-1 squirrel call. It'll do several different things, but the sound you're making is like. Or put it on your leg and go.
Yeah.
You know, I have seen them when you want him to come around that tree and bark. Lots of times if you don't have a squirrel dog, because we've always had to hunt basically without a squirrel dog, and we use these calls an awful lot. And of course, when an owl or something flies through the woods, the sound that they make is a shaking sound that you can make on that call, and you might want to demonstrate.
Yeah,
that.
an owl, that's a big predator of a squirrel. When he's after these squirrels, you heard them in the woods while he's out there, maybe even turkey hunting or deer hunting, you hear them squirrels go.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good sign an old owl has flew by or a hawk,
Right.
That's sort of an alarm sound to give out to the other squirrels around.
Well, one of the things that I saw about the dog this morning, and he knew that when the squirrel was there, he'd smell up and down those logs. He could track exactly where that squirrel had been, what tree he went up in. But once he got up in a tree, it was difficult to tell whether he went to the next tree or he went to a den. And I got a shot there of that dog standing right beside a squirrel holler, and he barked. That indicated to me the party was over right there.
Right.
I asked Rex, I said, Rex, does this dog run a deer? He said he'll run most anything four-legged, but I knew he wasn't running no deer and he'd run up and down them logs, but I never seen a deer run up and down a log.
That's exactly right. Well, I'll say this, you've done a good job. How long did it take you to train that dog?
I've been hunting ever since, like I said, for 2 years, but that thing was automatically a squirrel dog when I got it. If it was 6 months old, it was training its own squirrels.
What breed is the dog? Has he got dual mixture in it, or?
Yeah, well, no, it's just a feist squirrel dog. I would call it a bull feist. And they're just a larger feist than a regular miniature feist.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I enjoyed that so much this morning. What do you say we get her out again this afternoon and go after him one more time?
Sounds good to me.
I can tell you, Dave, if I had a tip of the day to tell anybody that wants to see some squirrels and wants to kill some squirrels to eat, go with somebody that's got a good squirrel dog.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, if that dog worked any better, I don't know how you do it. We wasn't gone 2 hours, and we had 4 squirrels on the ground before you could shake a stick, and you boys is using 22 rifles, and of course, I guess that really helps sharpen your eye for this time of year, don't it?
Yes, it does. Harold's a pretty good shot. He looked like me. He shot his in the head, and I shot mine behind the shoulder.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, you shot 4 times. That don't help Winchester's doing as much if you ain't going to shoot no more shells than that, and you got 4 dead squirrels. Talking about eating a squirrel, give me your favorite recipe, because a man that has a squirrel dog has got to know what one tastes like to make him go out there as often as you has in the hunt. Now, how'd you cook a squirrel?
Well, myself, I want him fried.
Well, now, there's more preparation to it than that.
Well, they gonna have to scratch it out like I did.
Well, that's a sorry tip, but that's a great tip. The tip for the day is we want to make sure that it's a safe trip. Before we go out here today, we always talk about keeping our guns pointed in the right direction. Make sure that we know where one another's at. Watch the dog. Shoot nothing but up in the air, because we want to enjoy it again another day. Let's go get them, boys.
Let's get it.
Barking for bushy tails, Harold. You know what? I can remember as a kid growing up, I listened for squirrels barking in the woods. That's the way I found them, barking and whining. And I didn't know what a bark call was from nothing when I grew up. I wished I'd have had it when I was a kid.
Let me tell you something, David. You said something there is a key when you was a kid. I bet you that taught you a lot of how to deer hunt and to turkey hunt.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, squirrel hunting was the first thing that I ever started hunting. And I can remember when I was 12, 13 years old and trying to slip up on a squirrel or listen to him cutting way off in the distance on the hickory or whatever that first part of the season. Man, it was exciting as it could be to look for something up in that tree and trying to finally spot it, and then packing it home and showing the mama what I'd harvested and let her cook it up. Oh, my lands, those are great memories.
I tell you what, I think a lot of us, our generation, got a lot of good memories back in squirrel hunting. I used to squirrel hunt every day of the season. I'd shoot them with a .22 rifle or a shotgun. I didn't have many shotgun shells. I could buy a .22 shell a lot cheaper, but I loved squirrel hunt. And I tell you what, it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about woodsmanship. It taught me a lot about how to slip around the woods. It taught me a lot how to read signs, you know, the squirrels cutting and how long they'd been in this tree and what they ate, and it just taught me a lot.
Well, let's talk a little bit about barking. Now, I said I used to hunt that squirrel barking. That was his dead giveaway that he was there. Now, what is he doing when he's barking in your mind?
Well, it's a sound that he's making. Sometimes it's excitement. You know, a lot of times you walk up on a squirrel and he's excited. A lot of times he'll give a real fast bark when a predator comes over, like an owl or a hawk or something like that.
He's seeing something.
He's seeing something. It's got lots of different meanings. It might be a mating call. You know, he'll have a call. And a lot of times when he's in a mating season, he'll do a lot of barking and whining. And that's the reason they call them a lot of times cat squirrels. You know, gray cat squirrels. Because they've got that little whine. A lot of times it's even like a whistle.
All right, let's look at the bark a little bit now. In this particular kit, we've got a squirrel barker. And let's just talk just a little bit about the barker and how we can use it to our advantage as a squirrel hunter. Now, obviously, I said I listened to him bark and I went to him, but there's got to be a lot of reasons why a barker can help us as squirrel hunters today. And you might want to discuss a little bit, and we're going to talk first of all about the gray squirrel and the rhythm that he makes when he's barking.
You know, a gray squirrel does have a different rhythm from the fox squirrel, and we'll demonstrate it first. The gray squirrel, you know, you asked the question, well, what's he doing when he's barking? How will a call come in? You know, would he answer you? My answer to you is yes, he'll answer you. If you bark, he's going to answer you sometime. It's sort of like blowing a duck call and a bunch of ducks is flying over. Sometimes they come in, sometimes they won't.
Absolutely. Everything's conditioned.
That's exactly right, and that's the way a squirrel is. But sometimes they will answer you. And if I can get that squirrel to answer me with a call, gosh, that makes you feel good to make him, you know, feel like you...
Oh, that made my day whether I get him or
yeah.
not. All right, now, I'm a beginner. I've never used a barker. I want you to teach me how to make the rhythm of a barking squirrel.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, Dave. When you pick this call up as a beginner, it's hard to put it down.
It's a toy, isn't it?
It's habit forming. I'm talking about you'll sit there, play with it all. You'll be making all kinds of sound. But here's a sound in barking, the way I hold it. You know, Dave, I like to take it and put it between my thumb and my index finger. And I like to use this hand to get my rhythm on my bark, because I am right-handed.
All right, rhythm is the most important part of anything.
Very important. Rhythm's important on everything. All right, gray squirrel rhythm is like this.
Now wait a minute, that's a whine you add in there with
I
it?
add a little whine, you know, he's barking there, and he's got that little whine right behind it. All right, here it is again.
All right, now let me try that.
All right. All right, you don't have your rhythm. Too fast. Give it your rhythm with your right hand. Right, a little slower. Not as hard. There you go. Now all the way down. All right, to get the bark, you're pushing it down lightly. Now to get the squeal, all the way down and out. All the way down and out.
Now I noticed something, Harold. When I was sitting there holding that thing, if I cut my fingers
You got a
around
different rhythm.
I got a totally different sound. If I go...
See, you're already playing with, like I told you would a while ago. It's hard to put down.
Now, you know, it'll squall out on you a little bit sometimes by going... Just stop doing it so fast and come right on back with it.
Slow down. Or another way to do it, Dave. Another way to do it. A lot of people, and I do it a lot of times. I'm sitting here without making a lot of movements, you know, around. I'll go. So I'm still using my right hand, but I'm right-handed against my leg, and that's my backboard, and this is my rhythm.
All right, now I noticed that you were going... How many times does a man need to pat it before he makes the whine to go with it to get the rhythm
All right,
right?
let's see. I'm going to say 4.
You got a 4-step barker. So you're going to bark it 4 to 5 times and then whine a couple times.
You know, I don't think a squirrel has... He's going to count his barks, how many he's going to do. He's going to do 4 or 5 barks, and then he's going to give that whine behind it.
But you know what? If you don't put it in some kind of a sequence for me to understand, I'm going to sit up there not knowing anything now. See, you got to remember, I'm a beginner. Even though I know in my mind I've heard squirrels bark a many a day. But I know a lot of people would pick it up and they'd go... That's not a squirrel.
That's not a squirrel. That's too many barks.
Too many barks. So you got to get that rhythm. And once again, it goes... Now, let me ask you something. I've heard them sit out there and just whine. Never make a bark.
Just go.
They do it on that call right there. You can push it in. You can sit out there and go, you can whine it.
You just go. Real low.
Little bitty bark. Just a little bitty bark and then a whine. And when I've seen these squirrels doing that, you know, I figured they're pretty much contented just sitting out there doing that. And I don't know whether they're letting other squirrels know that they're there. I've never seen particular squirrels run to them, but I have seen times. It seems to me like when you bark real loud, you get their attention real quick, and they don't bark it back to you as much as you would if you start out real low and build up to it.
You know, a lot of squirrels, David, when they do the bark, they've got a. It depends on what mood they're in, what kind of bark they're going to do. You know, they'll bark a lot of times at the predator, and then his squeal at the end of his bark will be a lot softer. In other words, he wants that predator to think that he's further away. You know,
now you're making sense.
You know, he's sitting up there and he sees a hawk, and that hawk lights in a tree, and that squirrel, what he's going to do, not getting off the bark, but he's going to go. That's another bark. That's a fast bark.
Normally, when I seen that, he's done hustled around that tree and he's moving out of the way.
He's going to. That's an alarm sound that he's giving to other squirrels. Hey, there's a predator here. There's an owl, hawk, or a bobcat walking on the ground, or a coyote or something. So he's doing that. That's another type bark. And then when he gets through doing that a lot of times, he'll sit up there and he'll just give a little, and he'll make the predator think he's further away than what he really is.
How many times you ever come up to a tree and you knew there was a squirrel in it, but you couldn't find him up there? You do that little sound you just did, that little shaking?
Oh, and he'd run all over that tree.
That joker run all over seeing what it's all about.
Yeah. That is if he's not suspicion you down there.
Absolutely. And all you got to do is hold that thing between your thumb and your index finger once again and go.
I want the people out there that squirrel hunt or just out in the woods, when they see a hawk fly over a lot of times, just see a hawk or an owl, fly up through the wood, tone your ear now to listen to that sound. You listen to squirrels, you're going to hear them all up through the woods where that hawk's going. That's their communication with one another.
All right, now we've sat there and talked about the gray squirrel in pretty good detail. Let's talk about the red squirrel, as they call it in some areas, or fox squirrel, they call it down here. It's about the same thing. Show me the difference in the rhythm, because I've heard, now you've got areas, I used to think the fox squirrels and red squirrels didn't mix, but that's wrong. Fox squirrels and red squirrels now seem to be in the same country. When I hear that squirrel over there, and say I don't want a fox squirrel, and I'm hunting gray squirrels.
When you say mix, they share the same territory.
That's right, they're in the same territory. How do I know that's a fox squirrel barking over there?
Well, hunt squirrels, and you be around them just a little, you'll learn the rhythm of the bark. And it's certainly a lot of difference. I can hear one and tell it 99.9% of the time.
Show me the rhythm of the red squirrel.
A fox squirrel will be a deeper, coarser, and he won't have the little squeal on the end. It'll be.
Now compare that to the gray squirrel.
Gray squirrel goes.
Higher pitch.
Fox squirrel again.
You know, one of my favorite times, Harold, is slipping around before every other season comes in. This is a time to sharpen your eye. To slip around the woods right before deer season comes in, it gives you time to check for old deer sign, new deer sign, and look for that squirrel.
Yeah, with a .22 rifle. That's what I like to look for him with. And if I can get one to bark at me, answer my call, gosh almighty, that's a good feeling. I mean, I feel like, man alive, this is what it's all about. I've called him. Now I'm going to get to shoot him. I'm going to take him home and skin him and eat him.
I'm going to slip up there in the woods, and first thing I'm going to listen for is that cutting, because I know he's going to be in a hickory tree somewhere early.
You're going to hear that cutting. You're going to hear him go. And he's doing his teeth on those hickory nuts. And you hear that. A lot of times you hear them, they'll scrape, go. And that's the sound they make. And look, I like to hear that. And of course, hear them shavings falling out of the tree and slipping up there. And squirrels don't only eat hickory nuts. Squirrels eat, depends on the geographical area you live in, but, in this country, in the squirrel belt, I call it, in Virginia and West Virginia and Tennessee and Kentucky and Alabama through here, they eat dogwood berries. And, it's easy to say what they don't eat. They'll eat just about any kind of berry or nut.
where how the earth gets regenerated. A squirrel come in, he'll dig him a hole, he'll bury him a nut. He's been up here and eat some. He's already got into his winter supply, and he'll forget where he buried them. And you got a nut that comes out of it. He'll get up under something and bury it. Nothing. And that's how the earth is regenerated with new hickory trees. You know, Harold, the scenes that we just saw was in the early part of squirrel season. That's about last of August, 1st of September. It's also a time when you can take a little distress whistle that comes in this kit. We might want to discuss that little whistle just a little bit, where you're trying to imitate a young squirrel that's been caught.
Dave, what's happening there, you know, young squirrels, when a lot of times will come out of the nest or stick their head up out of the nest, they get feeling the oats a little bit and seeing what this big world's about, and all at once here's a big owl or hawk come in and grab him. And when it does, what is he going to do?
He's going to scream, oh man, I'm in trouble.
You remember, a little squirrel that's this long, tail and all, he can't make a great big squeal, you know, like that. He's not big enough. What he makes, it's more like a mouse squeal. And this is where your little distress sound of a squirrel comes in. And what a good situation to be in, trying to imitate this, is get out there and take your hat and just beat it around the bush and make racket. You know, August, September, you still got leaves on the trees. Make a lot of racket, like something has got him in the leaves or in the on the limbs and things, and make this sound.
All right, now I noticed you got, in this call, you've got a hole in this end, a little bitty hole. Now you're blowing on the big end with the big open end. Are you sucking or blowing?
Either way. Do either way, Dave. It makes two sounds. You can blow, go. Then you inhale, go. It's distress. You just feel that distress sound in there.
Well, that's pretty easy to imitate, I'm sure. All I did was sucking back on it. That thing sounds awful.
Turn it around either way. You do it either way. It's made to do. But the sound is not real loud. But that sound can be heard a long way.
But what you're doing on both ends, you're sucking on both ends is what you're doing. You're bringing air out either. Okay.
All right. Now, it's the nature of a squirrel to protect that sound, not just the mama. I'm talking about squirrels will come to that. If they think a hawk or something's got a young squirrel, they're going to come to it. You males, females, and all. They are going to come right to you.
All right, well, that's another way to get a squirrel to move in the woods, and after all, that's all we're trying to do. You know, Harold, as the season progresses, especially late in the year, some of the most exciting hunts that we've been on and filming over the years has been squirrel hunting with dogs. I mean, that's got to be one of the biggest thrills I've ever been on. And that dog hunts with his nose, and he hunts by sight.
And ear.
And he hunts by ear.
Sure does.
And you know, now, what part will that play as far as the call is concerned? Of course, I've seen the time when that old dog got up there, and I wouldn't know whether he's lying to me or not, because you know, a squirrel can hug a tree pretty tight when he finally decides to hold up. And you can take that squirrel call and you can make that sound like that sometimes, and you can't alarm him to where he'll move a little bit.
You know what? Squirrel call plays some part dog hunting, not near as much as it does when you steel hunt. But I always find I take mine with me when I go squirrel hunting. But I'm always fooling the dog or something. I'm going to be using that call somewhere.
You know, how many times have you been sitting up in a deer stand and watch a squirrel come up a limb right over there and start barking at you, and you wished you had that thing in your hand where you could bark back?
I've got it with me most of the time.
You know, you can take your finger in here and you can make all kinds of little sounds. If you see a bobcat out there, now what I'm doing, I'm touching that reed just a little bit.
Making a little distress sound.
It doesn't have to mimic anything.
It sounds like a little bird or something called a bird.
I guarantee if you see a coyote out there, he's coming right to
that.
Well,
same thing as this. You can take this and you're on a little. You know, that's loud enough not to scare your deer a lot of times when you see a predator walking through the woods, or just enough to get him to come to you.
One of the sounds that we hadn't talked about that we've got on the end of this call, right on the side of it, is the little reed that's stuck in there for making a distress sound too.
You know, I'll tell you something. We hadn't touched on this sound is a mating sound. You know, squirrels they mate all through the year. Believe it or not, I've watched squirrels, the little squirrels out, almost year round. But they've got a time that they have a mating season in different states, just like the deer or anything else, the prime time.
Some states let you hunt them all year round just about.
They're letting you hunt them a lot more now because they find out that the hunter has zero impact on your population of squirrel. All right, this is your mating sound. You take it and you make a little squeal. It's a squealing sound like.
Now you're just blowing air over that little reed there.
I'm just inhaling on that little reed.
Okay. Harold, I think most of the viewing audience right now, they're pretty much self-explanatory how to use that call and the situation you use it in. I think they'd all be excited about owning a squirrel dog and seeing how to hunt with a squirrel dog. What do you say we take a look at the world champion squirrel dog hunt last year up in eastern Kentucky? Charlie, I got to say one thing. I've heard of bird dog championships, the world contest. I've heard of beagle hound contest, world championships. I've heard of coon dog world championships. What in the world are we talking now? Squirrel dog world championship.
Well, David, as you know, squirrel hunting's been an old Kentucky tradition in Tennessee and the Appalachian Mountains, and we found a way to turn it into a lot of fun, not only preserve our heritage, but just have a lot of fun with it. Our squirrel hunts are sanctioned by USDR, United Squirrel Dog Registry. And we draw out 3 dogs in a cast and with a judge, and we go to the woods and just see whose dog can treat the most squirrels and who's got the best dog in the country.
You're talking about the guys that are serious here for this, aren't you?
Well, yeah. A lot of bragging rights goes into who's got the best squirrel dog. Now, we don't get down to really blood hunting, but we have a lot of fun with the hunt, but we get dead serious about it.
I'll tell you something else. The guy that wins a contest has a real good opportunity of selling dogs a lot higher, too, don't he?
Well, that's agreed with that, yeah. Yeah, he's going to have a big market for pups and stud dog service. If it be a male or if it's a female, those puppies are going to go for a lot of money.
Okay, Charlie, when you talk about casting dogs, how in the world do I know what cast I'm going to be in? Do we draw for these numbers, or how do I know?
Well, in USDR rules and regulations, we have 2 sizes of dogs, 18 inches and below, and that's the big dogs are hunting against big dogs, and little dogs are hunting against small dogs. And they're all competing for the same awards, and they're counted on points. And when we cast these 3 dogs in the woods, first place to the dog that trees first on the tree, the angler would call a treat, and he would receive 100 points.
Second place, wait a minute. Now, when he trees, how do you know he's treed? I mean, is he barking? What's he doing?
Yeah, he's got to bark to be treed.
Now, how do I know when 2 dogs are there, which one's which?
Oh, every handler knows these dogs bark. They're like people's voices. No 2 have the same.
So this is a lot like a coon hound deal.
Sure, very similar to it.
All right, now when he trees that squirrel and we get there and there's no squirrel there.
Well, if there's a tree close by and the squirrel could have timbered out or gone into a den in a hole, then you get circle points. Doesn't count for you or against you except in a tie, and it will break a tie. But if you see the squirrel, he will get plus points. If it's a tree and it's very visible that there's no squirrel there and he had no way to escape, then that dog will receive minus points.
Okay, on a championship hunt like this, obviously you don't take the squirrel.
Oh, never. Not on any of these sanctioned squirrel hunts. Farms are not allowed on the premises. We just treat him for points. We can't retrieve that squirrel if we kill him again.
Charlie, there's lots of contests that offer prize money, such as your coon dog and these kind of people. Do you guys offer prize money?
No, just for this. We don't like to get into that area because we just done it for pleasure and fun. We're dead serious about our dogs and our hunting, but still we feel that awards and trophies is the way to go.
All right, Charles, when you talk about trophies now, this is a World's Breeder Cup trophy here, donated by Happy Jack Dog Food?
Correct, yes. Yeah.
I guess that's the top dog, isn't it?
That will be the All-World Breeders' Cup champion dog. Will take that home with them, and all the bragging rights and all that goes with it.
So in other words, top dog is going to get this.
Top dog, Saturday afternoon, we'll take that home along with a number of other plaques. See, we give a plaque for every time a cast winner wins his cast, then he receives a plaque. So he's going to load up a lot of awards, and Happy Jack is sponsoring. They're going to give a 50-pound bag of dog food to each dog that's a cast winner. Probably going to have a pickup truck to haul it away.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you talk about a world championship, that's got to draw in lots of people. How many people are you expecting this thing?
Last year we had somewhere around 500 or 600 people here, but this is the fastest growing dog sport in the United States at this particular time.
How many dogs are you going to cast here today?
Oh, we're going to have a neighborhood of 50, 60 dogs.
Man, that's a lot of dogs and a lot of squirrels. I'm going to tell you what, I've sat here and looked at that squirrel hunting cap long enough that I'd like to have it. You wouldn't swap one of these night and hail caps for
I believe I'd trade with you if that's agreeable with you. I'd be proud to wear a night and hail cap.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm going to wear it with pride, and I'm looking forward to getting out here and seeing how good these dogs can treat.
We thank you, my friend.
Carl, we're fixing to cast these dogs. Tell me exactly what's going down. We got 3 or 4 dogs?
We got 4 dogs in this cast.
All right, you got a handler for each dog?
Got a handler for each dog, and I'll be the judge.
All right, now that's usually what goes out. In other words, you don't have any other thing, just one judge, right?
Right. Sometimes you got a hunting judge, sometimes you have a non-hunting judge. In this case, I'll be the hunting judge.
Okay, now when you let these dogs go, we're looking for to count. You got a scorecard?
We'll put the time on these dogs. When I turn them loose, we've got 2 hours hunt time.
Okay.
And we can call time out, and move places. But I'll put the clock on them when we turn them loose to watch on them. And then first dog trees, he gets 100 points first tree. Second dog, 50, 25 on down, So the dog needs the tree first and have the squirrel. If you see the squirrel, it's 100 plus points. If you don't see the squirrel, it's in a den or a nest, it's circle points, which don't count on in case of attack.
What, do you carry a scorecard with you normally?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, well, boys, good luck to you. I'm looking forward to this.
Okay.
Let them roll.
So 3 of them scored on that tree. Okay, we're going to cast them again. We'll lead them off a little bit and turn them loose again. Try to get another. Okay, fellas, we're going to head down this holler here now when everybody's ready. Y'all ready? Yeah. Okay, let's cast it.
Ready to go. Well, Harold, we've gone on an early squirrel hunt, a late squirrel hunt. What do you say we go through and recap one more time just exactly how to use that squirrel call?
All right. Put your thumb, your index finger, and remember, use your your right hand, if you're right-handed, this is your rhythm hand, I call it. And you just tap it lightly. Go all the way down.
That's your bark and your whine.
Bark and whine. Or you can take it in your hand and put it against your leg like.
He's announcing to the world he's seen something.
Yes, when you hear one squirrel start barking, lots of times you hear another squirrel start barking.
Well, that's the idea, is try to get them all going.
I have got squirrels barking lots of times, just start barking when I didn't know a squirrel was around. If he ever barks, I'm going to ease to him.
All right, now let's also talk about that alarm bark. When he sees something, he runs around that tree.
This call right here is an alarm. He's alarming all the other squirrels out there.
Something's in the woods.
There's a predator here. Get hid.
So you're making him move now.
So I'm going to make him freeze. He'll freeze a lot of times, a young squirrel will, but some of these older squirrels, they'll get to running and carrying on, trying to get back to the hole or back to whatever,
Now, while I'm playing with that, you show me how to make that distress sound, that baby squirrel call one more time. All right.
Something's grabbing.
Well, Harold, what do you say we go barking for bushy tails?
I'm ready.
I can't wait to see on my TV my favorite hunting show. I call my friends, it's on again, wild things we need to know. Come on in, set a spell, make yourself at home. Woods and wetlands coming on. Grab a call, join us all in our wildlife band. Turkey, deer, waterfowl, woods and wetlands. Come on in, set a spell, make yourself at home. Woods and wetlands coming on.
Night and Hale's Woods and Wetlands is a national TV series that offers a wealth of knowledge on when, where, and how to call every known huntable species in North America. Harold and David's adventures will carry you to the farthest reaches of Alaska in search of moose, caribou, and Dall sheep. The barks of a pack of beagle hounds on the trail of a cottontail rabbit is music to any outdoor enthusiast. The sounds of a crying rabbit will keep anyone on the edge of their seat, waiting for that elusive but hungry coyote to show up. Encouraging camaraderie with friends and youngsters, David and Harold share their time with the youth as they go wood duck hunting along the Mississippi Flyway.
Good shot.
Later, they travel to Arkansas to hunt mallard ducks in the green timber and flooded rice fields. As winter approaches, the migration of the Canada goose gets into full swing. Well-placed decoys, good calling, and working geese offers an experience that won't soon be forgotten. White-tailed deer have most hunters in search of that trophy ghost that got away last year. By reading sign, using proper scent and calls, Harold gives valuable tips for harvesting that dream of a lifetime. After most seasons have passed, the almost forgotten tradition of hunting squirrels with a dog brings back warm memories. A .22 rifle, plenty of bushy tails, and a good dog will offer plenty of late-season excitement. Traveling to South Georgia, one finds some of the best quail habitat and dog work available. The anticipation of a covey flush is a heart-stopping experience. Soon spring arrives, and Woods and Wetlands talk turkey. A group of fighting turkeys settling the score over dominance. A strutting and gobbling tom. And a lot of patience find David and Harold trying to call into gun range, the monarch of the woods. For off-season hunting, nothing offers more fun than calling and hunting crows. Following the hunt, David and Harold find a special treat in literally eating crow. Soon, early fall arrives again, and our duo travels to the Rocky Mountains in search of elk. High country, breathtaking scenery, trout fishing, and elk bugling offer the viewers a trip that could only be better by being there. If you are interested in where, when, or how to call and hunt a species, nothing shows it better than Knight and Hale's Woods and Wetlands. Look for Knight and Hale's Woods and Wetlands show in the first and third quarter of each year on your local TV station. If you're interested in calling and hunting any of these species, check with your Better Sporting Goods stores for Knight and Hale's calls and videos, or write for a free brochure to Knight and Hale Game Calls, drawer 670, Cadiz, Kentucky, 42211.